Cassio now enters to tell Othello that he's hotly called for by the Duke. He needs him because of the war that's starting out. And you could argue that this is, again, another sign of the tragedy that's yet to come. He tells him that you have been hotly called for, which is a great quotation to memorize, to remember that Othello's reputation is very strong when it comes to his job. Iago then tells Cassio that Othello has boarded a land carrack, which is a very crude way of describing his marriage to Desdemona. We then find out that Cassio didn't know that they were going to get married, because Cassio's response is to who? He doesn't know who he's married to, which is very interesting. Pause for a bell. It's very interesting because obviously Cassio was going between them both, which suggests that even though he had an insight into the relationship, he obviously didn't know everything. Okay, and then in comes Brabantio on the charge, trying to get Othello arrested for stealing his daughter. And there's a great line that Brabantio says, "Down with him, thief," which suggests that not only does he not trust Othello, he also believes that Desdemona is his property. Try not to dwell too much on this in terms of context because you don't get any marks for it. But I think it's interesting to think of it in terms of, by highlighting to the audience that Desdemona is Brabantio's property, that is just the way it is. It emphasizes how strong-minded Desdemona is. It emphasizes that she should not have married Othello behind her father's back. And you might want to question whether her death at the end of the play is an attempt by Shakespeare to restore the society to order, to restore it back to the way it should be. This is a common feature of tragedies, is a sense of catharsis at the end, that everything will come right in the end, or that anyone who does anything wrong will be punished. Iago then irritates the audience by telling Roderigo, "Come, sir, I am for you," and pretends to fight him, or want to fight him, which really exploits the dramatic irony that he set up in the first scene. Othello, again, sets himself up as being a polite man who wants peace, and he says, "Keep up your bright swords, for the dew will rust them." So he wants to keep the peace. He's no intention of fighting over Desdemona. He then says to Brabantio, "You shall more command with years than with your weapons," which basically means that he'll respect him more if he fights with his words, with his wisdom, with the fact that he is a signor and a senator, rather than if he tries to physically fight him, which is interesting. It suggests that Othello respects peace and talking more than fighting and violence. So then you might want to question why in Act 3 his reaction is to kill his wife, to resort to violence, to restore himself. You might think about how much his reputation means to him, or you might think about the fact that he doesn't feel, unlike he thinks that Brabantio has the skills to do that, he himself doesn't feel like he has the skills and the talent to use words to get revenge, to get what he wants. Brabantio then says, "O thou foul thief, where hast thou stowed my daughter?" Now, stowed has connotations of links to ships, as if he stowed her away. Again, there's another idea about her being stolen, but stowed links quite nicely to Iago when he says, tonight hath boarded a land carrack, which is a treasure ship. So we've got this continued imagery of Desdemona appearing to be some kind of like a package on a ship that's just being transported from one man to another. And you might want to think about how, even though she feels like she has control in her choices, by the end of the play, she's just as much under the rule of a man as she was at the beginning under the rule of her father. Brabantio's speech here is very much focused on accusing Othello of using magic. He also says that, he reveals that Desdemona was so opposed to marriage that she shunned the wealthy curled darlings of our nation. So the use of that phrase, the wealthy curled darlings, suggests that Desdemona has turned down people who, in Brabantio's eyes, would be a really good match for her. And there's a certain prejudice there in the fact that he highlights that they are of his nation. It highlights to us then that Desdemona is not looking for the ordinary. She's not looking